Have you thought about quitting recently? Are you loving where the game is at recently? Are you not too sure what you think at the moment? Let's delve into my split personality mind, have a debate/discussion with myself regarding where the game's currently at, where it's come from, and where it could be going. Greetings, loyal minions. Welcome back to the SciShow, the #1 ranked YouTube channel for people who don't want to spend time with their families, but do anyway because it's holidays, or people who don't want to spend time with their families and are confident enough in that decision not to. If that's you, I appreciate you. So, should we stay or should we go? I haven't been spending as much time in the game recently due to a few different factors. Some of that's work-life balance, just things going on. Some of it's due to some of the recent changes in the game, a little bit of burnout, that type of thing. Look, I think we've all been there. We all know where that comes from. So I decided to have a bit of a deeper dive into some of those reasons, some of the things I'm enjoying in the game, some of the things that I may not be enjoying. I've tried to group them into 5 sort of categories. Some of them do overlap a little bit, but it just makes it a little bit easier to discuss, to put them in categories. So here they are. New content versus lack of quality, improved loot versus the loot required, hero buffs versus constant new heroes, quality of life versus power creep, and new skills versus lazy strategy. First up, let's look at some of the new content that I'm enjoying versus some of the lack of quality that I'm not enjoying. So one of the good recent additions is the Raid Brawl chest. So we can see here, we've now got the Raid Brawl showing. I've already collected the chest, so I think this pops up and lasts for 14 days. You need to win 50 raids during that time to collect the amazing rewards. And as we know, the rewards have got better, so there are some decent rewards there, which is great. We can see over here, it's sort of trying to get you to use some different heroes. So the current one, we have slower mana speed increases a hero's attack and defense, grants an extra chance to resist mana reductions and defense ailments. So there's different things happening each time. We've got the combo damage multiplier increased, an earlier tiebreaker, troop damage against weaker elements is increased, added critical chance, and slightly adjusted general balance of attacker versus defender. So that's all well and good. And again, a great improvement. Just adds a little bit of variety to the raid. However, on the flip side, I barely notice any difference. You only need to play, one raid, so 5 per day, so 5 wins per day. There's no extra incentive. Like, you're literally just doing the same thing that you would have been before the chest. So yes, it's great that you're getting a chest, but it's not adding variety. Some people may be using different heroes. I just go in and do the exact same rating I would normally do. I've barely noticed any sort of, damage multipliers because, if you get your heroes charged and fire them off, you're winning. Raids aren't as tough as wars, but yeah, it's just nothing additional. So again, it's introducing something new. It's great, but I'd love it if they actually gave us something different and a reason to do it. So even if it was just a leaderboard overall of how many times you'd use different heroes or whatever it may be, a second chest if you do something, a tier that you can get to for a second chest rather than just one chest. But make it different. Have a leaderboard, have something to achieve, even if it's just adding up all the battles that your alliance have had for the week and having an overall leaderboard with some sort of prize category. The prize category can be random. It doesn't have to be the absolute best alliance just gets more great things. Just have something that then promotes participation. So that's my thoughts on the Raid Brawl chest. Another recent addition of some new content was, of course, Dragonspire. So we all know when that was released, it had a big impact. A lot of people loved it, a lot of people hated it, a lot of people didn't care. It gave us a brand new base to start building, something to spend our time on whilst your things were recharging in the main game and that type of thing. It gave us some sort of improvements over the way certain things worked from the normal game. It's just a little bit cleaner, less deals, that type of thing. But that's probably where the positivity ends with the dragons, because we didn't get many updates. To me, there's no additional reason to play Dragonspear. Yes, it fills in a bit of time, but the raids are just the same as the raids in the normal game, and there was no additional. I feel there should have been some sort of big giant dragon that everyone had to log on to try and kill. Like, again, something to promote participation. That's what I feel the game is lacking. Something different, something to work towards that promotes participation. So everyone working together to do something different. That to me is what's missing. Another couple of positive new content pieces that I wish to comment on are the new war types. So we have Bloody War and Cloverfield, which we have already experienced. And we also have the Ancient Terror, which I believe will be next week in the rotation. So that's the one. I will do a video on that before team selection, just to advise on who I think may be good on defense. So keep an eye out for that. But the rules are on the screen, and as I said, I will go over that shortly. And lastly, we have the Visiting Outfitter. Again, I have done a video on this included in my Black Friday video. Go check that out for a few more details, but the details are on the screen. We have had it confirmed since that the actual price is staying as listed on the screen. We were expecting it may go up a little bit from beta, but that has remained at 300 gems for the legendary costume. So that's also great news on the new content front. Now for that Evil Psycatsis opinion. I did already mention the dragons as a bit of a negative in this space, but the other things I'd like to mention are War of Three Kingdoms. It's been thrown in, not changed since it came in. There's so many things that could be changed to improve that, even just with something to do with the flags. But again, nothing has changed, nothing's been done. We just keep getting the costume heroes to try and make us pull in the portal, but no improvements whatsoever to that since it's been released. We did have a very small improvement where they added the attack bonus and that type of thing as the flags went on, but nothing to actually improve that for everyone that's involved. The loot is quite trash in that still, and similar to Monster Island. So again, Monster Island, it's released, it's this big thing, and then all of a sudden we have no idea when it's coming, no improvements to it each time, it's just the same thing. So maybe some very tiny improvements. I can't even remember if there has been, but again, these are the sort of things where once it's released, we need to be improving it, listening to the feedback, and actually making it something that people want to participate in and having a reason to participate. So again, that's the negative. Better loot. So we know we've been getting better loot through the war, through the raid chest, the monster chest, the Titan loot. All the loot's been improved. We've been given the dragon shipment. So fantastic, giving us more of the items we need. That's the positive. On the negative is what I like to call making us eat the cabbage to get the dessert. It's a term I learnt in, weirdly enough, a negotiation training session. But yeah, it's basically giving us that stupid cooldown timer. So again, it's fantastic we're getting the extra loot, but the cooldown timer on the raid chest and monster chest is just, to me, it's actually going against making me want to play the game. So it's great that with the improved loot, the fact that the chests are on the 24-hour cooldown timer probably means overall you may still be getting more of the good loot. However, I've got ridiculous amounts of raid flasks. Same with normal energy flasks. But the raid flasks especially, I would wait until I had 6 flasks and 6 flags, and then I would skip the chest. Well, now with ridiculous amounts of gems to skip the chest, that's not an option. So it basically means I'm logging in once a day to do my 2 chests, and that's it. What other reason do I have to log in? I don't need to level up for experience. I don't need to do anything else with those raid flasks. So to me, it's actually taking away the want to log into the game. Just to me, a very, very poor decision. The loot's been great. It's probably going to improve the participation in war, but don't make me eat the cabbage, have 24-hour cooldown, no point logging into the game, no reason to use my raid flasks. So yeah, to me that's just silly. Could have been done in a much better way. On to my next topic, hero buffs versus constant new heroes. It's really good that we've started to give more regular buffs to some of the older heroes and just slightly changing. I used to play a game called League of Legends, and it was constantly going through changes, but the heroes always generally remained reasonably balanced. Whereas what we've got now is, due to the quick release of so many heroes over the last few years, it's just a huge outbalance in regards to some of the older heroes. But anyway, it's good. So the positives, it's good that we're giving buffs. I'm going to scroll through quickly the last round of buffs and changes for November. We can see here there's been quite a few. Straight up though, we can see that it's happening on not so much the older heroes that desperately need the buffs. So we can see there the Owls, which are generally quite strong already. The Winter Family, that's great. We're getting some costume bonuses updated, most likely because we'll probably get some new ones. And people will be wanting to pull it through Christmas. So again, that's where it's almost a double-edged sword, where generally when we're giving an update, it's because we're about to try and sell something, which I understand. Don't get me wrong. They need to make money. It's a business. That's all well and good. But we're looking through some of these heroes that they're giving some sort of bonuses to. So we can see the Villain Family, that's good. The Heroes of the Month, like, is 30% damage really going to change Thoth that much? Is it going to make him usable, even with a costume? Probably not. You know, Zimkeitha, 30% increase to damage. Are these things really doing anything? Yes, it's good if you're already using this hero. You have the maxed Glenda, 30%. We're going through and adding just tiny little bonuses or little differences, but what some of these old heroes desperately need is an update to their stats. So you're adding 30% attack to a hero that's probably got like 800 attack, as opposed to the newer heroes that are, 1200, 1300 plus more with limit break. So what we need is an increase to the stats. It doesn't have to be as big as a costume bonus, because the costumes are obviously there to try and make money. That's great. But what we need is something in between. So instead of giving an old hero a 30% bonus to their attack, give them a 20% overall increase to their stats. Make them not as good as the newer heroes, but actually make them usable. Even sort of mid-range players have just got so many heroes sitting there that are basically useless. It also means when you're pulling for a hero, you can have fantastic luck. Do a 10 pull and pick up like 3 legendary heroes, which is amazing to beat the odds like that, and have 3 heroes that you are extremely lucky to have, but feel absolutely disgusted because you can't use any of them. So yes, the updates are good. Stop updating brand new heroes, but the downside to this is also how quickly we are releasing new heroes. So it's great to be buffing those older ones, but we're barely buffing any. Yet we're releasing probably 3 new heroes every single week that are obviously getting stronger and stronger. So again, it's good to be buffing, but just try and balance it out better. Buff the heroes more that need it, give them bigger buffs, and stop releasing so many new heroes. Moving on to quality of life versus the power creep in the game. This bit could have been rolled in with the previous, and even the next one that I'm going to talk about could possibly be rolled in, but I wanted to mention them separately because that's how I roll. So this one is just regarding the quality of life. So little advancements in the game that just make it easy to play. So the main one I like, and anyone who has a lot of heroes to level up, is the quick auto level up. So that's been fantastic. We've got a couple of different options we can set with that in regards to which heroes it chooses. But again, so that's the positive. Sorry, I'll go with the negative straight away because that's how I'm feeling at the moment. The negative with this is that it should have happened years ago. Like, we became so used to not getting any changes to the quality of this game for so long that when something like that happens, we think it's fantastic. But really, that should have happened years ago. That, due to the low standards we've got, we end up being really happy with very small things. So yes, it's a great change. However, it's just something I feel should have been done a long time ago, and there's other little things that could have been done as well. The other good one is the museum, where they have changed it. So the heroes that you can collect gems for will go straight to the top and you can filter. So again, a very quick and easy change, I would imagine, that should have been implemented when it first came out. And to me, it sort of shows a distinct lack of involvement in their own game. So it looks like people that are making these changes don't play the game because some of these changes are so obvious. The other one, which I think is huge and we should have had many, many moons ago, is, how about a collect all type button? Like, who wants to log into the game 10 times a day or however often you do it and be clicking on all these things, like different parts of your base? You've got the same in Dragonspire where you need to, actually I've already collected stuff and it's all full. But yeah, I just feel those types of things are, they're great, but again, poorly done. And on top of that, it also brings me to my larger negative about that type of thing is what's next. So they've given us extra loot. We're starting to see Master Emblems rolling in. We're getting the Alpha Aethers. We're getting the Legendary Aethers. We're getting more Ascension items. So that to me says something quite big is coming, whether it's LB3. Is there going to be a third lot of emblems already? LB3 is the most obvious one, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they're thinking of something that none of us even know about, something totally new that just means extra, another resource, something along those lines. Yeah, I know they need to continue to evolve, and we need these new things, especially for the WoW. So, it also comes into picking the spot where you're comfortable to play the game. You don't have to chase. You don't have to use LB2s or Master Emblems. But obviously a lot of people in these games do have that slightly addictive personality and you do want to try and keep up. So it does put the pressure on. But yeah, that's where I'm going with that, is what's next. I feel there's just something, another big change coming. And we know each time this happens, it forces another wave of people to leave the game. People are like, oh, this is the last straw. It's the final nail in the coffin. It never is. Things keep rolling. New players come along. But it does mean that you're sort of losing a core group of people each time. So that's my concern there. And lastly, we have the new skills, game mechanics versus lazy strategy. Again, this one may have been able to be rolled in with some of the previous ones, but to me, it's an extremely important part of the game, as it's the reason I enjoyed the game a lot when I first started playing. So I've always defended the game against people that say, oh, if you just buy all the good heroes and you get lucky boards, you win. That's been getting worse and worse over time. I understand that. However, I've always defended the game to the point of saying a good strategy, picking the correct heroes, will end up beating heroes that you wouldn't think you'd be able to beat. Don't get me wrong, I do understand that you still need to have certain heroes. It's not like you can take a team of 4 stars and beat an Uber team of 5 stars. I mean, unless you get extremely lucky. So I know the board luck has always had a part to do with it. But again, I'll always defend the point that if you play smart, logical board play, sooner or later the board will turn lucky. Not always. You're still going to get bad boards where absolutely nothing you do matters, especially if you're playing mono and that type of thing. But again, I've always defended the strategy part of the game. I love trying to take heroes that will counter-attack the other heroes, not with a skill counter-attack, but actually counter the skills they have. But with some of the recent introductions, and I'll talk about some of the new skills that have come in that help that. So Insanity. I love the Insanity. You've got the dancers, you've got the ballads, you've got these new mechanics, minions that can't be removed, the mega minions, those type of things. When they come in, I really enjoy that new strategy and trying to figure out how to utilize that to my advantage. So that to me is a huge positive. I do wish sometimes they wouldn't go straight from 0 to 100 with some of these things. But again, I enjoy when new things come out and you then have to start trying to sort of get around it or plan for it, figure out how you can beat it. I love putting those sort of videos out where you test against heroes and see what we can do. That then brings me to the big negative I see with this is the lazy strategy of implementing some of these new skills. So again, I enjoy the strategy of trying to beat those opposite skills. The problem is the newer heroes, and I'm going to use some examples of Astrid as an example, who comes in, There's no strategy involved. You don't even need to charge this hero. You basically just get a passive that makes all of the ballads and dances almost useless, so they last for one turn. So to me, that's not trying to implement something that you can use as a strategy. It's basically saying, here's a fix to what we previously did. Now, again, I know this has happened all throughout the game, but in my opinion, it's getting far worse, and it's making it extremely hard to defend the sort of core mechanic of the game that I enjoy, which is trying to get your tiles, playing the board smartly, and trying to use your heroes to sort of counter the skills of the enemy. The Arctic Foxes, or whatever they're called, was another prime example. They have a passive that stops healing by 50% or whatever it is. Like, that's, some other heroes have that as their main skill, and yet they're just throwing it in there as a passive. You don't even need to charge the hero to then implement a strategy of using it. It's just happening automatically. We've got the Moth family, which are going to be released soon, and that sort of has something similar. So we've got the passive, or the family bonus, I think it is, with the Moth heroes, where at the start of each turn, they're casting Moth Dust to a random enemy for 2, 3, 4 turns, and the Moth Dust gives minus 10% mana generation. That doesn't sound terrible. We've seen passives like that before, but if Moth Dust is cleansed or removed, the target falls asleep and receives plus 60% increased damage when sleeping. So again, we taking things that are main skills on some heroes and we're throwing it in as a passive, or a family bonus in this case. Obviously, they're going to bring out the Mega Fiends as well. So again, we know Mega Minions are tough at the moment, but instead of introducing some heroes slowly to try and counter them in some ways, it's bang, here's a Mega Fiend that just 100% replaces the Mega Minion. So it's just replacing one overpowered hero with another. Again, understand the strategy. It's making the whales chase. It's making some of the not so whaley spenders chase. But to me, it's just extremely lazy, and it's making it very, very hard to defend what I believe is the core attraction of this game. So that's why I left this one till last, and why I made it its own category, because I just feel, to me, that's actually just the absolute core of the game is being slowly destroyed. And I'm not trying to be negative. I still enjoy the game. I enjoy a lot of parts of the game, but I just, I've held off on being the doomsday person saying, oh, it's a last straw, and that type of thing. But I just do feel this is getting too close to just becoming the normal of completely replacing one hero with another. Not even any thought involved. It's just, if you get this hero, you're making half the other heroes we've made overpowered useless. And to me, it's just not good enough. There we have it, a delve into my completely confused mind. I do enjoy discussing these parts of the game, so I would love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you've enjoyed. This is sort of, to me, a bit of a review of 2024. It might have focused on the second half more so than the whole year. But yeah, a bit of a review of what's been happening in the game, a bit of a current status as to where everything is sitting, and a bit of a look towards the future. So yeah, I'd love to hear your comments. Throw as many in there as you can. I'll try to respond to absolutely everything, no matter how detailed. Overall, I'm actually I'm excited about what's to come. I do enjoy the fact that they have started listening, even if it's only slightly, and implementing some of these things that are helping make the game a little bit easier to sort of stay relevant, even if you're not right at the top. So I hope that continues. But again, I'm also a little bit worried about the way they have been implementing certain things. Obviously, they have all the stats on their bottom dollar, so they know what works and what doesn't. But I feel the longevity of the game would be slightly better if they listened a little more, especially if they started taking notice of, people on YouTube, as an example, who take the time to actually go out there and promote the game and put their thoughts out there and get the discussions happening. So yeah, like the hell out of this, subscribe, do all those things, and share it. Hopefully get it to the point where they do start looking at these things and actually thinking, oh, maybe we should listen to our player base a little bit more. I know there's other avenues to do that, but this is just one. So yeah, thanks for watching. As always, I hope you enjoy what I'm doing. If you do, gently caress the subscribe button, give your kitty a scritch for me, and have a good one.